It's time for Inside the L, the podcast covering all things Lasalle athletics and taking you behind the scenes. And now, here's your host, Ed LeFurge.
What's happening, Explorers fans, and welcome back to Inside the L, the podcast. I'm your host, Ed LeFurge. Today's episode brought to you by our sponsors and good friends at Hers. Game time, halftime, overtime, break out the Hers. We appreciate them for their continued support of LaSalle athletics. We got a really fun episode on hand this time around. It's our basketball preview. We're playing basketball games in just about a month, a little under that. We're going to have head coach Ashley Howard from the men's basketball program and his counterpart, MacGillivray, from the women's program, as well as on our Alumni Spotlight. We're going to have women's basketball class of 2001, Zenzer. She's a Big Five Hall of Famer, LaSalle Hall of Athletes inductee, and she currently is working as a special agent in the FBI out of their Philadelphia office. Really excited for this episode to talk to our basketball coaches and see what they have in store for this season and some things you might be able to expect out of their respective programs. We're going to jump right into things with head coach Ashley Howard in his third season at the helm of the men's basketball program. And coach, thanks so much for giving us some time.
Let's do it, Ed. I'm excited to get back on the line and reach out to all of our explorers out there.
Yeah, it's exciting. Things are creeping up. The season, just about a month away. First and foremost, before we really jump into it, how are you? How's the family? Things have been crazy the last few months. How's everything going?
Family's good. Thanks for asking. It's spent a lot more time at home than I'm accustomed to. So, sure. Blessing in disguise. I have obviously two young children, a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. Have an opportunity to just spend additional time with them that I ordinarily wouldn't get has been the silver lining in all of this that we've gone through over the last several months. But, the family's well. We're all in good health. So, we got to be very thankful for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The last few months have been really unprecedented with the pandemic and the social justice issues around the nation. Before we jump into basketball, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about those two items because I know those are important to you. You've been pretty outspoken on social media about the blatant issues of racism in our country. What message would you like to put out there to the entire LaSalle community, and how can everyone help make the changes that needs to happen?
Well, as one LaSalle community, I think that we should be, united in the concept of, humanity and accepting people for their differences. We're all different, but nobody's better than anybody else, right? Just because you grew up on the main line doesn't make you better than anybody that grew up in Roxborough, right? And just because you grew up in the inner city of Philadelphia and you had difficult times coming up doesn't mean that you're entitled to anything. We all have our differences, but the one thing that is evident, right, is that minorities, in particular our Black community, has had a rough road in the history of America, and I just think that right now just needs to be put to the forefront, primarily because it's the only thing that hasn't really changed in our country. It's been pretty consistent, right? And for anybody to turn a blind eye to it and act like it doesn't exist, then personally I feel like that's an issue. But at the end of the day, if you care about the human race and not the color of anyone's skin, which is what America is supposed to be all about, the land of the free, home of the brave.
Absolutely.
The place where all people will be accepted for their differences, then I think now is the opportunity for people who don't necessarily see it the way I see it, just to take a look at it and take a different perspective. Because for me, I just think having those conversations and being able to look at a different perspective is what's needed right now more than anything.
Wise words from head coach Ashley Howard. I hope everybody listening really takes that and thinks about it and reflects on that, because those issues have been so evident in our country, and a lot of work needs to be done by everybody. Moving into the pandemic, Coach, it certainly altered everybody's lives the last 7-8 months. How has it impacted the typical offseason and preseason for your program?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, we had no off season, right? We had no spring, we had no summer. We came back September. Fortunately for us, we were able to come back, and we had limited access to our players. We're only able to work with them in small groups, and now we're about a month away from the start of the season. So ideally, at this point during the season, like, you're really working on your offense, your defense, your different schemes, how you want to play.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point in the season, we're still kind of getting the rust off of our guys because they haven't had opportunity to play. I mean, obviously, we have guys that are local. And then we also have guys that live outside of the area. But it's been a challenge. It was a challenge for those guys during the pandemic to find places to play. So, we had certain guys that may have been able to get out to a basket and shoot, but you weren't able to play basketball.
Sure.
Because of the restrictions, right? So, losing 6 months of just playing, that impacts you. Fortunate enough for us, everybody's in the same boat. But even now, as we've gotten back to school, we're very fortunate that we've been able to be in a contained environment, considering that us women's basketball and a select few other students are on campus right now. So that's helped us prevent having any positive tests, but that's not the case everywhere else. Other places across the country, teams are being, shut down and forced to do 14-day quarantines.
Yep.
Because a member of their team has contracted the virus or come in contact with somebody who contracted the virus. So, this pandemic has impacted everybody's off season. We've been able to really knock on wood, keep things pretty contained and been able to build on things since we've been back on campus, and we're very fortunate that we've been able to do that.
Yeah, team workouts really started with the collective group probably about the beginning of October. How have workouts been so far? Has anybody stood out? What are you kind of expecting out of this group of guys?
You know what? The best practices I've had since I've been a head coach.
Yeah.
Just no distractions in practice. Everybody that has returned, they're better. They know the expectation. They know the drills. They're able to get out there and lead and communicate with the younger guys. So, the first couple of years, I would tell our guys in the program, I wish I had older guys to show you what this is supposed to look like, but I don't. And this year we have older guys, David Beatty, Scott Spencer, Jarrett Kimbrough, Jack Clark, who have now been in our program for 3 years that know, the expectation. We had Christian Ray, who big time leader, going to be a key piece to our program. These guys have taken, leadership responsibilities, and in practice, they're setting the tone, and that helps me as a coach.
Sure.
Now I don't have to be the rah-rah guy. I don't have to be the guy that is, patting guys on the back when they do well. I don't have to be the guy that's running everything. Even in terms of our coaching staff, Coach Kyle Griffin and Donnie Carr, there's continuity there with us. So those guys are more confident in their roles in the program. So, I just think in year 3, it's right where it should be right now, where we're transitioning. Everybody's more comfortable in their roles, and just the overall vibe and the energy of the program has been great so far.
As a program, you guys brought in 4 freshmen this season. Tell us a little bit about each one of these guys and kind of what your expectations are from them.
Yep. So I'll start with Jameer Brickus, Coatesville High School product, pure point guard, really good IQ, gets his teammates involved, organizes his team. He has a very mature basketball mind, and but he's still a freshman, right? He still has his moments, but he's going to be a guy that I know the Explorer fans are going to love over the next 4 hopefully 5 years. He's going to make a significant impact. Tegra Eze, 7-foot big guy, coming out of Archbishop Carroll High School in Washington, D.C., played for, a great coaching staff down there, Archbishop Carroll. The WCAC is known as one of the best high school conferences in the country. So, he's a kid that, as a 7-footer, he's going to give us a dynamic that we haven't really had. We haven't really had that type of size on the front line since we've been here. Mm-hmm. So Tegra gives us that. He gives us defending. He gives us rebounding. He's a great offensive rebounder. He's a great communicator. And you need that, from your big guys. So we're excited about him. He's going to be playing behind, Jared and Cliff this year, but, in a developmental role this year, I think that he's going to provide us some quality minutes. And I think the future is really bright for Tegra. Then we go to Anwar Gill, another DC area product, played at Gonzaga High School and then did a post-grad year at Mount Verde Academy. He's a lefty, so he's one of those, crafty lefty guys that can get in tight spaces that nobody else can get to. A great finisher at the rim. He gives us, that guy that can just like drive and get to the basket and create plays. He's athletic. He gives us versatility on the perimeter. He's going to be a guy that's going to add depth to our backcourt, and we're really excited about Anwar. We think he has a chance to be a big-time player at Lasalle and in the Atlantic 10. And then Darius Ward, he was our latest commitment, and Darius is a Philly product. Grew up about 5 minutes from LaSalle's campus. Went to Sankofa Freedom Charter School in Philly. Won a state championship as a junior, and then his senior year he went to St. Thomas More, and the plan was to go to St. Thomas More to do a senior year and then do another post-grad year this year. And we were recruiting Darius as a 2021 recruit. Mm-hmm. And, once things, went left in the spring in terms of the pandemic and all of the uncertainty for all of these student athletes that are in high school now, we had a conversation with Darius about, listen, man, like you'll qualify now. How about you enroll in LaSalle and redshirt? And he and his family agreed that they wanted to take advantage of that opportunity. And Darius is a 6'6" combo guard, really more of a shooting guard than a point guard, but athletic, can really shoot the ball. And he has the skills to develop into a really good player. So to have him in the program now, where the intent was to redshirt him, but now with the NCAA providing all of these kids a blanket waiver to get a year back, we're going to treat this year like look, D, we're going to develop you this year, but if there's opportunities for you to play, we'll put you out there so he can get some valuable experience. So we're looking forward to watching Darius develop. Initially, he was supposed to redshirt this year, but, he might get thrown into the fire at times. But, we think the future is bright for Darius as well.
Yeah, definitely an exciting group of guys you have coming in. There's been a lot of buzz around the Explorer community about these guys, so it'll be exciting to see them, hit the ground running and see what they can do for you and your program. On the personnel front, you also have Clifton Moore available after transferring from Indiana. He sat out last year. Jack Clark available after missing last season due to injury. So it's almost like you've got four plus the two guys. You've got six guys that are going to be brand new to your roster. Yeah, Jack played a little bit his freshman year. Talk about kind of overall, adding Clifton and Jack into the mix too. What they'll be able to provide for you.
Well, I think Cliff and Jack are going to be significant contributors this year. They both had to sit out. Jack 2-3 years really.
Yeah.
And Cliff last season, but not really having the opportunity to play that much in Indiana. So I think both of those guys are excited to get an opportunity to get out there and play. And those two dudes, the first couple weeks of workouts, man, they were rusty and rightfully so because they haven't played. So now, you fast forward a month later, they're starting to come into their own. And one of the things that we talk about in our program is doing all of the things that contribute to winning that don't show up on the stat sheet. And we call that Explorer Club. So, one of the biggest points of emphasis we have with Jack and Cliff is like, man, both of you guys, I know you want to come and you want to set the world on fire. You want to score and you want to do all these things that make an impact. But as long as you guys are prioritizing Explorer Club, that's going to give you guys the best opportunity to have a significant impact on the team. And Jack is leading us in Explorer Club right now, and Clifton, I believe, is third behind Jarrett. So they got the memo, and I'm actually shocked that Jack is able to do some of the things that he's been doing in terms of rebounding and defending. If he's able to play at that high of a level in those areas, then I think he's going to have a big time year. And with Cliff, he's just given us another athletic, versatile forward on that front line that can do a lot of things that we haven't had in the last 2 years. So really excited about the addition of both of those guys.
And as a follow-up, Coach, you talk about this Explorer Club. Tell us a little bit more about that. What is the idea behind kind of having that set up, and what are you expecting out of your guys in terms of the Explorer Club?
So obviously everybody knows within our program, we want to be a team. We want to prioritize, playing for each other. And what Explorer Club does is it motivates guys to do all the things that don't show up in the stat sheet. So screens, tap backs, rebounds, they show up in the stat sheet, charges, dives, loose balls, making the extra pass, getting a paint touch. Like one of the things in our offense is that we want to do is we want to attack the paint. We don't want to just settle for threes, even though we shoot a lot of threes, right? We don't want to just settle and get threes without getting paint touches. So, prioritizing all of those different areas and giving guys points for it and rewarding guys who do all of those little things that help your team win. So, the first couple years, you're trying to build the program and you're trying to implement all these different things. One of the cool things that we do is we have an Explorer Club winner for every week of practice. So whoever wins Explorer Club for the previous week, they get to wear a platinum jersey in practice. So we have a platinum Lasalle jersey, practice jersey.
Very
so
cool.
The Explorer Club winner gets to wear that jersey almost like, like a badge of honor.
Sure, yeah.
And then once we get into the season, we do an Explorer Club highlight tape of all of those plays that occurred during the game. And whoever wins Explorer Club for the previous game, they get to select the music that we play for the highlight tape. So when we do our pregame scout meeting the night before the game, we'll do our scout, and then we'll do our highlight tape, and our guys really enjoy that. So it's something that gives the guys a little extra incentive to do all the little things for their teammates that contribute to winning and being a part of a strong culture.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool aspect to kind of get the guys motivated to do some of those smaller things that sometimes go unnoticed by the average fan or the average person. So that's definitely a cool way to keep them involved. In addition to some new players, you've got some new staff this year. You've got assistant coach Jamal Robinson. You've got your director of basketball operations John Cox, and Pete Gash came kind of in the middle of last season. Talk about kind of those three guys and how they've transitioned into their role with on your staff and among the team.
First, just three amazing people. And I'll start with Pete Gash. So Pete and I worked for Dr. G together. When I was an assistant, Pete was the video coordinator. He was a young dude on the staff, and he's really hustled and worked his way up the collegiate coaching ranks. He was an assistant at Tennessee Chattanooga, a team that went to the NCAA tournament, and then he was at UMass with Coach Matt McCall, and then he had the opportunity to come on board with us, and he's been unbelievable, man. He's a hard worker. He's great with our guys. He's great in the office, and he does all the things behind the scenes that really help the program go. And as I bring in John Cox in our director of basketball operations role, John and I have known each other since we were in diapers, pretty much. And just a great person. He was a great player, and John also now is developed into like a unbelievable coach and mentor. He retired 2 years ago after a long, successful career overseas. Played in the 2016 Olympics with the Venezuelan national team, and dude retires and then takes the middle school coaching job at Friends Central. Like, you talk about humility, man.
Yeah.
Like so, and he did that, and then he was, he was a member of Lifetime Fitness, and then, just started running the basketball operations at Lifetime Fitness, where they have like a men's league, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? But to me, it just showed like this dude has the ultimate humility, and it's something that I think is a great message to send our guys. And my biggest thing is just surrounding our guys with just positive role models, guys that can share their experience with them and nurture them and help these guys grow and develop as young men. There's nothing more that we can do than just share our experience. I think that's the most valuable thing we can do. So, John is our director of basketball operations, so he's learning that aspect of the profession. I think it's valuable for him. I think he's going to be a great coach. But coming in his first year in the business and being able to learn all the things behind the scenes that go into running a program, I think it'll make him even more valuable as an assistant, and even increase his opportunities even further down the line to maybe be a head coach one day, to have that valuable experience of understanding all the inner workings of the program behind the scenes. So excited to have John on board. And then Jamal Robinson, it's a guy, man. Jamal and I met playing in the Coaches versus Cancer charity basketball game. And this was maybe 10 years ago. Every year the Coach versus Cancer had a charity game that we would play at the Palestra, where the local City 6 coaches would play against a corporation that won a bid to play this game, and then you had people who would bring in like ringers and this guy named Fish from up in New York City, and he brought a squad down of ringers, man, and Jamal was one of them, and they blew us out of the building. And but Jamal and I, remained close, and he played overseas, played a stint with the Miami Heat, was a great player at the University of Virginia, and then once he retired, just another dude that ultimate humility, just got right into training. And people think that training is like something glamorous. It's not glamorous. Like you're not a coach, you're not getting paid money, but you do all the same things. You're still as committed. And he started training guys down in the Virginia area, and then he started working with the Nike EYBL. So the Nike EYBL is the Nike grassroots organization that pretty much identifies the top high school talent all throughout the country. And then they have their EYBL league, and then they have camps and clinics and stuff. And Jamal was one of their trainers that worked with all the Nike camps and clinics. So we reconnected during my time at Villanova and Xavier, just because he was around all the time, and we had that connection. And when I first got the job, Jamal was the first person to call me about Scott Spencer. When I first got the head coaching job at Lasalle, he said, "Yo, man, I got a player for you, man. It's going to be transferring from Clemson, and you should take a look at him." And Jamal facilitated that relationship, which he didn't have to do. And I was grateful. And then I ran into him on the road, and he said to me, he's like, yo, man, I'm trying to get into college. And I'm like, dude, I didn't know you were trying to be a college coach. I thought Jamal wanted to be like an NBA, workout guy, or like an NBA player development coach, because, I thought that was the direction he was going. But he said he wanted to get into college. And then a couple months later, he took a job at Hampton University as an assistant coach. So then when we had the position open up on the staff, honestly, Jamal was the first person I thought of. And, we went through the interview process, and, I got the opportunity to talk to a lot of really talented coaches, and Jamal, he just really stayed in the forefront of my mind, just based on his ability to develop players, his connections in recruiting, his experience, again, being a guy that played at a high level, was a professional, and now is making that transition. I just felt like he'd be a unbelievable mentor and guy to have around our players. So, three great coaches in Jamal, John, and Pete, but, even better people, guys that I know are going to help us build this program the right way, and that really care a great deal about our student athletes.
Yeah, it really sounds like you trust and familiarity and humility is something really important to you as a coach. And so that's something you kind of expect out of your staff members. So that's really cool to see that you've been able to plug those positions with folks like that. From year 1 to 2 under your direction, the team has made significant strides with, victories over 3 20+ win teams last year, and to take the Gulf Coast title. You boosted your win percent by 28 points to finish at 500 overall. What are some things you'd like to see during year 3 to continue that upward trend of the program?
Honestly, just more consistency. I felt like we were really good at times last year, and then at times we were not, right? And I think a lot of it had to do with lack of maturity and experience. Felt like injuries played a significant role in that also. When you don't have a team, like last year, we didn't have a marquee player, right? A go-to guy. So now you're really relying on all of the pieces of the puzzle to be synchronized. So now, you lose one to injury, you lose another one to a concussion. Now you're trying to, fit pieces that may not necessarily fit together in the puzzle. And that still is a part of us, making that transition and building the program. in addition to the fact that, you had so many guys that are, you got their own agendas, rightfully so, right? Our seniors, Saul and Isaiah, you know, as seniors, you want to play well. You want to, put yourself in the best position to set yourself up to maybe have a chance to play professionally. And now you have a coach that's coming in that's changing the culture and is asking you to prioritize the team over yourself, which isn't human nature, which is a challenge, right? And I respect those guys for their effort and doing that and being leaders in our program and trying to do things that weren't comfortable for them, for the team. And it didn't go unnoticed. And Saul and Isaiah know I appreciate that contribution that they made. But it's still, everybody's still figuring each other out, learning each other. And our league is really good, man. So, we had some injuries that, didn't allow us to be at full strength to start conference play. We open up against Dayton, then we go to Fordham, then it's at UMass, and then it just starts rolling. And our league is extremely, extremely underrated. And not only do we have good teams, but we have different styles of play that really make it a challenge for young teams to be able to be dialed in on making the necessary adjustments when you're playing VCU that's going to press you the whole game. Then you play against Richmond that's playing Princeton offense, and then you play St. Bonnie's that run an intricate style, and they have, a great, rim protector and Oshun Osuni. And it's just so many different teams, and then you play Dayton, one of the top 4 teams in the country, and then it just keeps going on, and you go into, a stretch where, you're not playing poorly, but you drop some games for a young team, keeping those guys motivated and keeping the vibe positive was a challenge. But I'm telling you, Ed, the thing that I was most proud about last year was that we didn't quit. And then our guys just, found a way towards the end of the year to keep getting better. Had a big win at GW, had a great win on senior day versus St. Bonnie's, and then ended the season with a battle in a war at St. Joe's in a Big 5 City Series game. To end the season like that, I was proud of our guys, and I know they were proud of themselves too, because we always talked about our only goal is to let's just be the best team that we can be by the end of the season. And I felt like we played our best basketball towards the end of the season. And now using the ending of last year and the vibe that we had and the connection that we established to go into this year. And now let's just see how good we can be by the end, and that's our goal. And, I think that, we're trending in the right direction. It starts with putting together really solid days of practice consecutively. I feel like we're doing that. And, I'm looking forward to seeing what this year's Explorers look like, man, once we take the floor on November 25th up in Queens, New York.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are excited for what this season could hold for, not just you guys, but I think basketball in general. I think people are just ready to, start seeing some basketball played at the collegiate level and kind of get back to some sort of normalcy there. We're going to transition into our Fast Five that we do with all of our guests at the end of each segment here, kind of going through rapid fire question style. So give us your answers, whatever comes to mind.
Let's do it.
First off, what is your go-to quarantine show? Everybody's been watching all sorts of Netflix, Hulu stuff on TV throughout the quarantine. Has there been something for you that's really stuck out?
Greenleaf on Netflix. So Greenleaf it's about a family that that grew up in a Baptist church in Memphis. The father is the pastor It's a drama. It's a lot of behind the scenes, church and family drama that goes on. But Greenleaf was my show during quarantine. But there were a ton of others, man. I had a lot of time to catch up on some shows. So Greenleaf was one of them. And yeah, that's probably the most consistent one.
I'll have to add that to my list. That's my favorite part of including this question is I get to find some things I may not have seen during my quarantine. Sure. If you got to go back into quarantine again for some reason in the future, what are your must-have items?
So my must-have items throughout this quarantine were, like fresh spinach, blueberries, bananas, avocados, because I put all those in my smoothies. So, I said, listen, man, on quarantine, I'm going to have smoothies. I'm going to try to eat healthier. So, those were my go-tos. Those were the items that I found myself going to Whole Foods to get the most on quarantine. Just reeing up on the spinach, the avocados, the blueberries, the bananas, mangoes, strawberries, just all the fresh fruits and vegetables, man. Those were my go-tos.
There you go. We'll have to have you'll have to do a smoothie bar for us at a staff meeting one time and show us some of your recipes.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. My smoothie game is on point right now.
If you could go back to when you were, in high school, sophomore, junior, and be offered a full scholarship for any sport other than basketball, what sport would it be and why?
Golf. Because, you realize now, the significance of being able to be a good golf player, right? If I had to do it all over again, it'd be golf, because now I don't have the time to learn how to play golf and get good at it, right? So if I actually invested early in my golf game, it may have helped me. So if I had to go back, I would have invested early in my golf game. I would have a scholarship to play golf. It's not taxing on my body, so my knees and everything will feel much better now. 40 years old.
Play a little bit longer.
Yeah. So if there were any other sport, it'd be golf. Absolutely.
Who is your favorite athlete of all time and why?
My favorite athlete of all time is Kobe, and primarily because I grew up around him. Sure. I watched his evolution. I respect his Mamba mentality a great deal. And, it's just different when, you've been around someone throughout a particular time in their journey where, you can see the maturation and the development. I remember watching Kobe when he was in high school playing against NBA players in the summer and thinking to myself, like this dude is ridiculous, right? And then to see him, become one of the greatest players in the NBA, arguably, one of the top, 10 players of all time, and just to be around him for the time that I was and to have that connection with him, he's my favorite athlete of all time.
Definitely understandable. Last one, school colors of blue and gold. If you had to pick one, which one you going with?
Either blue or gold?
Yep.
Blue.
Blue. All right.
Yeah. If I had to pick did you ask me if I had to pick either to wear either blue or gold?
Yep. If you're going with one, which is it going to be?
I'm going with blue. Gold is more Kel Beer style than mine.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Like I'm more on the conservative side, man. I think blue is that standard color. You can't go wrong with blue. If you go gold, man, you're being bold. So, I'm gonna stay on the conservative side. I'm gonna go with blue.
I got you, Coach. Thanks so much for taking some time to chat with us and catch up on the podcast. We appreciate it.
Ed, thanks for having me, man. Go Explorers.
As head coach Ashley Howard entering his third season at the helm of the men's basketball program. Excited things happening here at 20th and Only. On the other side of this break, we're going to catch up with Mountain MacGillivray, head women's basketball coach. Stay tuned. Lasalle fans, are you looking for something to get embroidered or imprinted? If so, let Campus Clothes help you get the look. Whether your team is in the corporate office or on the athletic field, Campus Clothes can supply your team with all its needs. Choose from a variety of t-shirts, uniforms, fleeces, polo shirts, and jackets. Visit us on the web at campusclothes.com. That's KAMPUSKLOTHES.com. Or give us a call at 215-357-0892. That's 215-357-0892. Looking good is the first step to playing well. Campus Clothes. Get the look. We're joined now by the head women's basketball coach here at Lasalle. He's in his third season at the helm of the program, and last year his squad made some leaps and bounds. Talk about doubling overall win total and conference win total. First time in program history they swept St. Joe's. You talk about a huge win over Penn State, coming back from 21 points behind. Big improvement. Coach, thanks so much for making some time for us here on the podcast.
Ed, really glad to be here. Thanks a lot.
First and foremost, how are you? How's the family? How's everybody doing?
Yeah, everybody's great. We're wrapping up a fall baseball season at home.
There you go.
My oldest has not my oldest, the oldest one playing, Bridget, my 14-year-old, just finished. And then I have a 11-year-old who's got a couple games left, and my 9 and my 6-year-old play together. And my 6-year-old pitched for the first time in his life last night, struck out his last batter that he faced. So he's kind of fired up. That was pretty cool.
Nice. We'll talk about baseball a little later on, and the importance for you guys. But over the last 2 months, your program has gone through LaSalle's return to participation protocols, and now are competing together as a collective unit. Talk a little bit about the first 2 months of training and some of the safeguards that you guys have in place.
It's just, let me just say though, it's really a blessing to have the opportunity to even be on the court. Our kids are really grateful. When we got the call that we were going to be able to come back, they were really excited. You know, they worked hard in their off season, to get here and to be ready. And then we didn't know if it was ever going to happen. And so when we came back, we had to limit the size of our groups. We couldn't have more than 10 people in the gym at the same time. We split our houses into groups. So each house had their own little group that they were a part of, and they kind of made it their identity. They named themselves. So we had one house was called Ball of Duty. The other house was 99 Problems, but a Swish Ain't One. The next house was the Dream Beans, because they're all coffee drinkers. And then we had the Masked Assassins in the other house. And so that had a little fun with that, and they got to compete and, the things they were doing by their groups, and did some other things with that. But but it really wasn't a big change from the way it used to be. So when you worked out in the preseason, I don't know, maybe seven or 8 years ago, you couldn't have more than 4 people in the gym at a time, 4 players in the gym at a time. So it was rather similar to that time. So it gave us an opportunity to work on a lot of skill work, to get a lot of reps in, to, more, it was one coach, one basket, one ball, one player, one ball at a hoop. And so it really individualized things, and that was good. And then everybody, they quarantined before they came. There wasn't anybody on campus besides us and men's basketball, and a few international students and some other students who had some special programs they had to be at. But so we felt a degree of safety because we know everyone was taking care of themselves and doing what they needed to do. And then they all got tested, and everybody was negative, and we've been tested ever since. I guess 25% a week, and it's been a good return. Now we're all back full swing. Everybody's in the gym at the same time, and it's been fun.
Yeah, I mean, being at practice the other night, it was good to see everybody in there and geared up, and the energy was high, and everyone was excited. Talk a little bit about how workouts have been going, and maybe some student athletes who have stood out so far.
Yeah, the workouts have been going good. Like I said, the energy, the intensity, their fitness level, they've all been really good. They've been getting stronger in the weight room as well. And so it's been fun to see. As far as, who stood out, it's been different players, different days. And that's, kind of what we preach, and it's kind of what we're looking for. And I'm glad to see it. But I think what's kind of jumped out at me, and I actually just went back today in preparing for this a little bit and looked at last year's stat sheet compared to what we're looking like. We stat every day in practice. We stat it all. And I noticed before looking at the stat sheet how effective our passing has been. Like, we're really moving the ball well, finding one another. But we're averaging like 11 or 12 assists more per practice than we were. And the turnovers are relatively the same. So, that's a big jump, that we are passing the ball far more effectively than last year. It's been a pretty stark difference.
The program brought in 5 freshmen this season. Tell us a little bit about each one of those individuals and kind of what the expectation for that for that group or those individuals are.
Yeah, well, the first expectation for all of them is that they're going to contribute. And that's why we brought them here. Morgan Adams, she was a 3-sport star in high school. She did a little bit of everything, played the violin, was in the play. Like, she's a really well-rounded kid. And we just knew that her focusing on just basketball was really going to pay off for her. And we're already seeing it. She's making jumps and leaps and bounds, and she's learning to use her skill and her size to her advantage. And it's paid off with some real impressive days. We're getting passing out of the post from her and Michelle that we just haven't gotten in the past. They're really effective passing the ball. They're learning how to gain position. The couple senior post players in Kayla and Haley have been, having their way with them a little bit, out battling them for position, but they're learning to figure out how to use that size and put their skill to good use. Jay Haynes, comes to LaSalle after getting a great basketball education at Germantown Academy with Sherry Retief, and also playing a high-level AAU program with the Lady Running Rebels. This is a kid who works really hard. She pays attention. She's dialed in every day. And that's really starting to impact her at practice. Just as of late, she's really been coming on and being productive. And then Michelle Kazuki, she's another freshman post player. She's one of the best players, most decorated players in Delaware history. She just has a fantastic motor. She goes so hard. Getting her, just like Morgan, to learn how to use her body and to, battle and compete and do the things that we're asking our posts to do. It's a learning process, but she's making strides every day and had some huge days, just compiling numbers, rebounds, loose balls, scoring the ball effectively inside and out. So, she's been doing pretty well. And then we have Yete. Yete comes to us from Latvia. She is a point guard with a great basketball experience, playing on the national team in the European Championships every summer. And she is an effective scorer. She shoots the ball from really deep, has great range. And, she accepted this challenge to come here with 3 point guards already in the program. And, she's figuring out her way and has a great attitude about it. And we'll see how much she can push us to be better. And then we have Kayla Richardson, comes to us from Jersey, Middletown High School. She was a state champion as a junior, and we're looking forward to getting her back on the court. She's been out with an off-season surgery, but now she's back into all the shooting drills. The stroke still looks really good. And she has the size and the skill to be a real matchup problem. So we're looking forward to getting her back.
And after sitting out last season due to NCAA rules, you also welcome Molly Massantonio into the mix of your eligible players. She had a solid freshman year at Holy Family. What are you anticipating for her this year? And do you think there are any benefits to her being here last season and being around the team?
Yeah, I mean, you can just see it with the difference between her and the freshman, right? So she's technically a freshman. This will be her first year playing for us, but she just is much more comfortable with where to go, what's expected, and how to do it. And Molly's a proven scorer, but she plays both ends of the floor. Like, her hands have been so active. She leads our team in steals right now. Immediately last year, she already impacted our program with her commitment to being her best. I mean, she really works at her craft, and she's also a great off the court presence. The team loves her, and she kind of rallies everybody together. And this year, she should have a major impact for us on the floor.
Off the court, you welcomed Allie Sanders as an assistant coach, coming to us from Penn State. I know she was a little salty about that victory we had there last year. What has she brought to the program so far?
Yeah, Allie has been fantastic. She's exactly what I desire to have at a fellow staff member. She has a great personality and a work ethic to match. From the day she arrived, she's been totally committed to making us be the best program we can be. And she's embraced the new challenge of working with our post player, kind of stretching herself a little bit as a coach. And she's been really good. It's when you have people who are all in with what you're doing, you have a good chance to be really successful. And I'm really blessed to work with a staff that is really committed.
Now, I mentioned a little bit earlier, but obviously the program made significant leaps during year two. And you welcome back some key contributors, including your top 5 scorers, 2 senior point guards. How do you continue to build this program and take that next step?
Well, when you have hungry, talented players who know the system and love playing with each other, that's a pretty good starting point. So I like the fact that we're returning, our 5 leading scorers. I like the fact that we're adding Molly onto the court when, she had sat out, and that we brought in kids who really want to be here and are eager for their opportunity. The chemistry of the group continues to be outstanding, and that's going to pay off as well. I think last year we got a little dinged up with some injuries and fatigue in the middle of the season that really hurt us. And I think we have a deeper depth of talent this year that we should be able to sustain, anything that comes our way.
You talk about that team chemistry and off the court. You guys have worked on that, leadership skills, the culture of the program. Talk to us about that and some of the importance the staff puts on those pieces.
Yeah, I would say that, the one thing that the quarantine did initially for us was that we weren't on the court working with our kids like we would have been, and we weren't on the road traveling and recruiting like we would have been. So I had some more time to just be a little bit more reflective about things we want to accomplish, the way we want to go about it, our team's identity. Our athletic director, Brian Baptiste, brought in Jeremy Boone, athlete by design, to work with all the head coaches on leadership development. And so he was giving us things that we were bringing back to our team, and we were kind of, together we were crafting, a vision for our program. We crafted this promised land identity of where we wanted to go. And then we created a mission that was going to help us get to that promised land, and some values that really meant a lot to each of the players and the coaches on the team. And we develop some principles around those values, and that was really enjoyable to do. It gave me some insight, like specifically when I was asking the team, what's important to them. One of the things that came up that I just don't think ordinarily me as a coach, or maybe even as a player, is something that I would have been one of the things that I valued, but like almost every kid mentioned valuing kindness as something that was really important to them. And so we just made sure that that was one of our, our core principles for our team. And so, without those discussions, like, I don't think I pay much attention to that. And so, that's something. And then also, obviously it's kind of obvious now in hindsight that that is a really important value to them. That's why they kind of all get along so well, because they, value being really good to one another.
Sure.
And so that, that was a really good exercise for us. We read a book together, To Carry Wood and Chop Water. Sorry, I said that backwards. Carry water and chop wood. And so from there, we pulled out some ideas as well about the process of becoming great and how we get there. And so, so that was a really good. I mean, I felt it was a more productive off season in some ways than it normally would have been. And then, since we've gotten back, the pods, helped a little bonding there. Obviously it's a little bit of a lonely time because you don't have all the students here, and you're not,
Sure.
You're not even allowed to socialize with people outside of our group. But, we got together, had a cookout the other night, which was a lot of fun. Did a pumpkin carving contest and a little volleyball tournament. So we had some fun as a group with the staff and the players the other night. And then, I think it helps when they enjoy one another's presence. So that's been pretty good.
Switching gears a little bit, I have the good fortune of working directly with your program, and on each of our road trips we go on, there is at least one person who asks me if your name really is Mountain, or if that's a nickname, or what the story is there. I know we've talked about it before, but give our listeners a little bit of an understanding of your name and some of the unique stories you tell with it.
It is my real name, and no, I do not have any brothers and sisters with crazy names. So my dad was 20 and my mom was 19. It was 1973, and my mom just wanted something different, and she decided on Mountain. If I was a girl, I would have been Sunshine. But because of, being asked that question, and really in that order, like, is that your real name? I get that. Then I get, what are your brothers and sisters' names? And I get, well, how did you get your name? So I've made up a few stories around that I don't ever let anybody walk away believing it, but a couple ones, like I'm a big baseball fan, and Kennesaw Mountain Landis was the first commissioner of baseball. And so my dad named me after Kennesaw Mountain Landis, and that's not true. And then, I tell people that my mom was the second woman ever to climb Mount Everest, which also is not true, but very difficult to Google if you were trying.
Sure, the first person, I'm sure, is much more verifiable.
Sure. Exactly. Nobody knows who the second person is at anything, right? It's why you want to win. Nobody knows who lost in the finals. So anyway, that's a couple of the stories that I tend to share. It breaks the ice a little bit. It really has gotten me a lot of attention throughout my life. So I actually, in the beginning, I'll tell you a quick story. I grew up, first grade, I went to Our Lady of Lourdes grade school, and I lived with my dad's mom and dad, my grandparents on my dad's side. And so they would take me, they took me to school, but they wouldn't call me Mountain. They called me Mark in front of the nuns at school, because the mountain whose name is Mountain. And my grandmother was so, like, I don't know if embarrassed is the right word. We went on a trip, my Uncle Billy and my grandmother, to Boston. We went in Faneuil Hall, and I must have wandered away and got lost. Well, she was trying to find me, but refused to yell my name. So she just walked around in silence looking for me, because she wasn't going to yell out Mountain in public. But anyway, so, even like we won the Catholic League championship in baseball, and there was a big pile up, and I had a good game that day. And so Ted Solari, in the headline in the back of the Daily News, it said, the Archbishop Carroll players form a mountain of bodies, and then another mountain, blah, blah, blah. So my name's always got me some attention along the way. So I'm not complaining about it.
I have to say, being your SID, I enjoy it because it gives me some solid talking points for our broadcasters, for our media members of the region.
Sure.
So I appreciate it. So you can thank your parents from me for that.
You got it.
We're going to jump into our Fast Five. This is something I do with all of our guests, kind of as a fun way to end all of our interviews here. Rapid fire questions. Just give us the answers that come to mind. So
Sure.
first off, what is your go-to quarantine show?
Well, I don't have TV. So with 8 kids at home, life is busy. So I do have the internet, right? So you can watch any show you want. But yeah, so I would say Little League Baseball because I don't really have shows. I'm at the field almost every single night.
Okay.
So that's what we're doing when I get home. So, and if not that, it was recruiting film would be my second quarantine show, watching basketball film. So I have enjoyed. I did enjoy the sports coming back. So with baseball coming back, with the NBA coming back, and now football, that's been great. But for a while there, it was just being at the field for a little bit. And anyway, so go ahead.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What if we have to go into quarantine again? What are your must-have quarantine items? What are the things that you're going to make sure that you have with you?
A full fridge.
Amen to that.
Make sure the fridge is stocked.
Yeah.
And we made great, so being home with the family, not coming into work on a regular basis, it gave us an opportunity to pray together every day. So we did the rosary every day, and that was really nice. So I'm gonna make sure I have my rosary if we go into quarantine again. I'll have it handy all the time.
There you go. If you could go back, and we've talked about baseball a few times. You played in high school, you played at Temple for a little bit. That was your sport that you played, baseball. So if you could go back and be offered a full scholarship for any sport other than baseball, what would it be and why?
I'd like to say that maybe if I could go back, I'd actually get a scholarship for baseball. I'd like to have been really good at it. I was decent, but I was not scholarship worthy. What other sport would I like to have earned a scholarship for? I mean, are we assuming that I suddenly was talented enough to play that other sport? Because I mean, obviously, I'd love to have been good enough to be a college basketball player.
Sure.
That would have been fantastic to play college basketball in the Big Five. That would have been amazing. That's the opportunity I'm trying to sell to all the young ladies that are looking at Salle, that playing basketball in the Big Five would be incredible.
The Big Five is definitely something special.
Yeah.
Who is your favorite athlete of all time and why?
Well, that's a difficult question because am I going to include my own children and my wife? That's a no-brainer then, right? So that I'm going to have to.
They get an automatic
out.
pass.
All right, and then I can't name any of one of my former players, right? That's not fair. There's too many of them to pick one from. But sticking in women's basketball, one of the first players that I really just was blown away by was Teresa Edwards, 5-time Olympian, Naismith Hall of Fame. She was just such a consummate pro. Watching her play, she got picked up in the ABL and ended up on the Philadelphia Rage. And she, through watching the Olympic teams, got to see her a little bit. But, as a child growing up and being the baseball fan that I am, Tony Gwynn was my hero. And I read a book by George F. Will, Men at Work, that talked about Tony Gwynn. One of the great stories was that he was in a wedding, but he had some time to kill on the way to wedding. He just stopped off at a local batting cage and got some swings in. And he ended up leaving his batting gloves in his back pocket by accident of his tuxedo.
That's funny.
And that his type of player is kind of gone these days in baseball. Like there's nobody who's just putting the bat on the ball and trying to just get hits. Everybody's trying to knock the ball out of the ballpark. I kind of miss watching Tony Gwynn play.
Wrapping it up. School colors are blue and gold. You had to pick one. You taking blue or you taking gold?
Oh. Well, I mean, I want both. I've been in blue and gold now for 10 years. I'm getting used to blue and gold. But
Quinnipiac too, yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably stick with blue. There's a lot of shades of blue. I think once you get away from our beautiful gold color, there's a lot of it gets mustardy and the gold's but blue there's a lot of blue out there to be enjoyed.
Fair enough, Coach. We appreciate it. Thanks for giving us some time, and we're looking forward to the season kicking off here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, you and me both. Can't wait to get out there and play that first game.
That was head coach Mountain MacGillivray, head women's basketball coach here at Lasalle. Coming up next on the other side of this break, we are going to catch up with a women's basketball alumni, Big Five Hall of Famer, Lasalle Hall of Athletes inductee. She's 14th all-time in points and currently a special agent in the FBI in Philadelphia. That's Jen Zenzer, local product out of Bishop McDevitt. We've got that on the other side of this break. Sports are back, and at Lasalle, they truly are something special. And boy, come game day, we take it to the next level. Fans are locked in, wearing their finest blue and gold. But it's only a real game day at Lasalle when you have done one more thing. Break out the Hers. Dial up the crunch with Hers Pub Pretzels. Going for the snack win doesn't get easier or tastier. You break out the crunchy dip receiver with Hers Ridge chips. Both go perfectly with cheering on the Explorers to the last second. Game time, halftime, overtime. It's your time to break out the Hers. Time for our Alumni Spotlight featuring women's basketball alumni Jen Zenzer, a 2001 academic All-American, Big Five Hall of Famer, LaSalle Hall of Athlete inductee. The accolades go on and on and on. 4-year starter, 3-time captain. Jen, thanks so much for making some time and catching up with us.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
First and foremost, how are you? How's your family doing? You know, last several months have been crazy for everyone.
Yeah, Ed, we're all hanging in there. They're doing the best we can. I think kind of taking it day by day.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. Let's jump right into things and let's start with the beginning of your career. You know, you graduated from Bishop McDevitt as the all-time leading scorer by any basketball player, regardless of gender, and number one in your class academically. Talk about your time at Bishop McDevitt and, you know, playing in the Philadelphia Catholic League.
So, you know, I look back and I can tell you those were 4 of the best years of my life. I had this dream as a young girl playing in the Catholic League. And specifically, I wanted to play for Tom Lonergan, who was the coach at McDevitt at the time. And, you know, it just worked out to be an unbelievable experience all around.
As a follow-up, current Explorers head coach Mountain MacGillivray was an assistant at Archbishop Carroll during your time in high school. Do you remember going up against Coach Mountain, and what was it like kind of playing his teams?
Absolutely. Okay, so I believe we played them all 3 of the 4 years. They were as scrappy and hard-nosed as, you know, especially on the defensive end, as we would face any year. You know, a Southern Division at the time, the Catholic League was broken down North and South. So they were a Southern Division team, but they were hard-nosed girls. My biggest memory is we played Archbishop Carroll my senior year in the semifinal game at St. Joe's. And it, you know, not a game we should have won. I believe they had probably 7 or 8 D1 kids on that team. They were good. Wow. They were really good. And I don't know, as luck would have it, it was sort of our night. We wound up winning in triple overtime. And so that is just probably the biggest memory, other than winning the Catholic League freshman year, that I have from basketball during high school.
That's a triple overtime game. That's got to be pretty
It
exciting.
was crazy. It was crazy. Yeah.
When you were going through the recruitment process, what drew you to Lasalle? Did it have anything to do with proximity to home? Was it the religious background similar to McDevitt? What were some of the factors that led you to that decision?
So it was the type of, I would explain it as it was everything kind of fell into place for me. The proximity to home was huge because my parents, I just knew that they could come to my games, and that was very important to me. Ironically enough, senior year at McDevitt, I did this diocesan scholar program. So I was going to LaSalle every morning, senior year at McDevitt. And it was my third recruiting trip. So we had 5 official visits. It was my third. And quite frankly, I had kind of written it out because I'd been going there. And I'm like,
Yeah.
So I show up for my recruiting visit and I just absolutely fell in love with it. I couldn't believe that this was a school that I was driving to every morning because it was completely different. Being there with the team, the coaching staff, the honors program was a big draw. The religion for sure, the Catholic education, it just all, and if people had told me, they said, you're going to know. And I came home in the middle of the visit. I came home, I told my parents, this is it. This is where I want to go. And, I loved every minute of that as well.
And so do you think having that experience in high school where you were going to LaSalle anyway, did that, if that hadn't happened, do you think you still would have ended up at LaSalle?
So I don't know. I'm going to say no, because I think I probably I may not have even considered it as one of my top choices, but it felt comfortable. And it felt like a place, I should just at least go look at. And like I said, when I did, one of my teammates from McDevitt was at LaSalle. So we played a year at McDevitt. We played a year at LaSalle, Katie Wolf, who to this day is one of my a very close friend. And, like I said, I just fell in love with the team and the coaches and the whole, everything about it. So it was great.
What were some of your best memories of LaSalle women's basketball? Are there a couple things that kind of jump out to you as things that, you'll always remember?
For sure. And I'll tell you what, had you asked me this, I'm old now. So after 40, had you asked me this 25 years ago or 20 years ago, I was so focused on the wins and the losses, but now it's the places we went to. So every year, Thanksgiving trips, we played out at Colorado State Air Force. We played in Arizona. We played in Indiana. We went to Europe before senior year. So it was certainly the experiences, the places we traveled as a team, and my teammates. I'm to this day my closest friends in life. So those are. I can't even point to a specific game, to be honest, looking back. I mean, I can remember some terrible bus rides back from GW, but I can't point to one, the Big Five, obviously the Big Five games. Sure. That, playing at the Palestra is like nothing else. So those are some memories that stick out. But it's really, really the people and the experiences.
Yeah.
For sure.
Recapping your career a little bit, we talked about the Big Five Hall of Fame, LaSalle Hall of Athletes. You were just inducted into Bishop McDevitt's inaugural Athletics Hall of Fame, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
14th all-time women's basketball history at LaSalle in points with 1,290. 4-time All Big Five selection. First player ever to lead a LaSalle women's basketball team in points, rebounds, assists. You graduated second in your class of 2001 with a degree in accounting. I mean, it sounds like you really did it all. You were an all-around player. How would you characterize your play?
I guess I would say tough. I mean, I wanted to win. I really wanted to win. And I think looking back at a young age, it's kind of what I try to tell my girls who are all playing now. You just have to have this will. It's honestly, it's similar to what I explained to them. I'm like, the ball goes up. You might not be the tallest kid on the team, but you got to have a knack for the ball. Go get the ball. dive on the floor for loose balls. It's that old school mentality. And I think I played with, I think I played with a lot of that. I think my personality on the court was probably the exact opposite of my personality in real life. And I just kind of let it all out there. It's the only way I really knew how to play.
Yeah.
So.
And so we mentioned you graduated second in your class, degree in accounting. Shortly after graduation, you started your career with the FBI. How did that come about? Like, is that something did you always know you wanted to go into law enforcement?
I did. So seventh grade, my grade school up here in Maple Glen, Pennsylvania, we had a female FBI agent come to our class and give a career talk. And I left there and I was like, I want to be just like her when I grow up. I wound up writing her a letter, and, through the years, she's essentially become a mentor to me. Yeah, so it's just it was really what I wanted to do, and then that's why I pursued accounting, because she, her name's Kathy Lash. She told me, major in accounting, it's the fastest way to get in, and I obviously thought criminal justice,
Sure.
but no, and she was right. She was right. So we, the FBI hires a very diverse pool of all different kinds of backgrounds, but there's certain ones that are kind of critical skills. So,
And I feel like the average person, myself included, has really no idea what it takes to be in the FBI or how to get into the FBI. Can you talk about the process of getting involved and how your career has gone over the last decade or so?
Sure. So just briefly, the background process is pretty extensive, as you might imagine. There's a written exam, there's a panel interview, there's a physical fitness test, there's a polygraph test, there's a medical examination, and once you get through all of that, which can take usually up to a year, you then will go to Quantico for 20 weeks of training, which is anything from legal training to firearms training to practical exercises to classroom to defensive tactics. They're the general areas. Once you get through that, which is not the easiest training, once you get through that, you're assigned. We have 56 field offices. You start out as a new agent. You're assigned to one of those field offices. And, you kind of start your career. You can be working anything from white collar crime to drugs to counterintelligence to terrorism. There's a whole, a whole bunch of different violations you can work. So I've spent the majority, well, actually all of my career in Philadelphia. I'm about almost 18 total years in, and I've worked all white collar crime, public corruption, healthcare fraud, types of violations for all of my career.
What's that like for your kids? Like, do they like, boast to their friends, oh, my mom's an FBI agent? Like, how, what's that like for them?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I think they're proud. I definitely get some strange reactions. Quite frankly, it's not all it's not all that it's built up to be on TV. There's a lot of days in the office, a lot of days behind a computer. But when we do go out, I mean, there are some times where it is similar to TV, and it's exciting. But obviously I've got to given the climate that we're in right now, it's scary times for everybody, and sure. Law enforcement in general it's a scary profession at the time. So, but all good. I have absolutely no regrets sitting here at all.
And kind of to wrap things up here, what role did, the Lasallian mission really play for you throughout your career?
I think the strong traditions, just learning a lot of lessons in college that I didn't realize I was learning at the time. Mm-hmm. I guess that's the fairest way to put it. Learning loyalty, learning to, operate as a team, learning dedication to the sport and dedication to my teammates and to, my classwork, has really, really benefited me, in life. And I think the single biggest thing, I'll leave it at this, the single biggest thing that my education at LaSalle taught me was time management, actually. Learning how to balance everything at a very young age and carrying that on to being a working mom of 3 very active kids has really helped me a lot. So I loved my time at LaSalle.
Well, Jen, we are incredibly proud of you, and we appreciate everything that you do every day out there on the front lines, protecting everybody. Thanks so much for giving us some time here to catch up on the podcast.
No problem at all. Thanks, Ed. Good luck to everybody. Good luck to the women's basketball team this year.
Yeah, we're excited. That was Jen Zenzer, class of 2001, Big 5 Hall of Fame athlete, LaSalle Hall of Athlete inductee. We appreciate her and both head coach Mountain MacGillivray and head coach Ashley Howard for giving us time on this episode, presented by our sponsors at HERS. I'm Ed LeFurge. We appreciate it. Make sure you go ahead, subscribe, like, follow us on all of our platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Thanks so much, folks. We will see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to Inside the L, the podcast. Go Explorers!